Hi, I'm Ron Bateman, the Sheriff of Anne Arundel County. Welcome to your Anne Arundel's Most Wanted program, a program where we showcase wanted criminals, highlight open cases, and look to you for tips. You, concerned citizens that share my same goal, and that's keeping our communities safe. You'd be proud to know that your calls have allowed us to put handcuffs on thousands of criminals. So sit back, set your DVR, or grab a pen and paper, and help do your part in catching criminals. You're watching Anne Arundel's Most Wanted. Now, we haven't had this guest on our show for a while. We have Lieutenant Ryan Fraser from the Anne Arundel County Police. He is the Chief Public Information Officer. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Thank you, sir. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Who'd you bring for us?
I brought two individuals for us today, Sheriff. The first subject is Mr. Keith McFadden. He is a 33-year-old male. He's 5'6" with a medium build, and his date of birth is June 13th, 1984. His last known address is 1149 Hamburg Street in Baltimore, Maryland. On August 11, 2017, officers investigated two residential burglaries in the Glen Burnie area. The homeowners advised that the residents were broken into while they were out for the day. The victims reported that several items of value were stolen from each home, to include jewelry, electronics, and cash. The total value of property stolen during the burglaries was over $7,000. Detectives recovered fingerprints from both residents, and these fingerprints were matched to Keith McFadden. McFadden has active warrants charging him with 2 counts of first-degree burglary. Our second subject today is Nicole Elaine Liverett, who is 31 years old. She has brown hair and green eyes. She's 5'4" tall and 150 pounds. Her last known address is 8030 Jumpers Hole Road in Pasadena. On August 11, 2017, officers responded to a Pasadena residence for a violent assault. The female victim reported that a person that she recognized as Nicole Leverett, along with 2 other subjects, entered her home and attacked her. One male subject was armed with a hammer, the other with a baseball bat, and Leverett with a knife. Ms. Leverett struck the victim with a chair and began choking the victim with her hands. The victim sustained lacerations below her left eye and a laceration on her upper lip and right cheek, cuts on her arms and stomach, and bruising marks on her neck and chest. The 2 male subjects have since been identified and apprehended. However, our officers are still looking for Nicole Leverett, who has an active warrant for the first-degree assault.
Well, folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. I know I sound like a broken record every single month, but do not approach them. Call the number 410-222-1490 or 911 24 hours a day. Lieutenant, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, everyone recognizes this guest, Corporal Amy Megath from the Annapolis Police Department. Welcome back to the show, Amy.
Thank you, Sheriff.
And who did you bring for us?
I've got 3 today. The first one is Ever Antonio Bonilla Lieva. His date of birth is April 28th of 1986. He's a Hispanic male, 5'6" tall, weighing 158 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 33 Carver Street, Apartment F in Annapolis. He has a warrant for failing to appear in court for driving without a license. On April 9th of this year at 12:51 a.m., an officer was on routine patrol in the area of Forest Drive and Fairfax Road. The officer saw a red in-color Honda Civic traveling towards him and saw that the vehicle had an inoperative passenger side headlight. The officer stopped the Honda Civic and made contact with the driver, Eva Bonilla Lieva. The officer asked for his driver's license and registration. Bonilla Lieva gave the officer the registration, but said that he did not have a driver's license. It was confirmed that Bonilla Lieva does not have a license, and he was arrested for driving without a license. In July, he failed to come to court for this charge, and this warrant was issued for his arrest. The second subject is Eric Lamondos Hill. His date of birth is January 19th of 1971. He's an African-American male, 5 feet 11 inches tall, weighing 185 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 26 Carver Street in Annapolis. He has 2 open warrants. One warrant is for theft from under $1,000 to under $10,000, attempted theft less than $1,000, 3 counts of stealing a credit card, and multiple counts relating to using stolen credit cards to make purchases. He has a second warrant for failing to appear in court for theft less than $1,000. The first warrant stems from an incident in February of 2016 when the victim lost his wallet in the area of Market Space in Annapolis. The victim reported the lost wallet a few days later when he was notified by the bank that charges had been made on the lost credit cards. The officer obtained video of the transactions made with the victim's credit cards and saw the person using the credit cards. The officer was able to identify Hill as the suspect. Over $1,900 in fraudulent charges were made by Hill using the stolen credit cards. This warrant was issued for Hill for those charges. And the third subject is Orlando LaRae Lee, also goes by Lee, and his date of birth is July 21st of 1987. He's an African-American male, 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighing 190 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He has tattoos that say Lee and Crystal. His last known address is 1000 E Madison Street, apartment 6 in Annapolis. And he has a warrant for first-degree burglary, 2 counts of fourth-degree burglary, and theft less than $100. On September 14th of this year at 8:33 p.m., officers responded to the 1300 block of Tyler Avenue in reference to a burglary that was just discovered by the owner. The owner said they were out of town from September 7th until September 14th, and when they returned, they found the door to the home unlocked. The owner advised the door was locked when they left. Through investigation, officers were able to identify Orlando Lee as a suspect in this burglary, and the officer was able to obtain this warrant for Lee.
You know the deal, folks. You know the whereabouts of any of those individuals that Amy just discussed. Call the number 410-222-1490 and 911 24 hours a day. Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
And now for another regular guest on our show, Trooper First Class Katie Fallon from the Maryland State Police, Glen Burnie Barrack. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much.
Who'd you bring for us?
We have 3 subjects from our barrack that are still wanted. First is Madison Marie Tarlecki. She's a white female, date of birth of April 17, 1994, a last known address of 808 Cloverfields Drive in Stevensonville, and also 272 Nathan Way in Millersville, Maryland. On March 19, 2016, a trooper was on northbound I-97 in the area of Dorsey Road, assisting another trooper with a motor vehicle collision. At that time, the Maryland State Police Glen Burnie Barrack dispatched a lookout for a white Lincoln passenger vehicle with Maryland registration 4BX5586 that struck multiple other vehicles on I-97 North and failed to stop. The troopers located the Lincoln upon approaching the location and told the driver to pull over. The driver was identified as Madison Marie Tarlecki. Madison stated she did not know she hit any other vehicles and thought she only hit the guardrail. Damage was observed to both sides of the vehicle, and she appeared to be disoriented and possibly impaired. Madison submitted to standardized field sobriety testing, which was negative for clues of impairment. The front seat passenger in the Lincoln was identified as Mary Jane Tarlecki, a date of birth of November 14, 1990, and stated there could possibly be drug paraphernalia inside the vehicle. After further questioning, Madison admitted to having drug paraphernalia on her person. Madison removed 1 syringe, a silver spoon with suspected heroin residue, and burn marks on the bottom, commonly used to prepare heroin for injection, as well as 3 clear plastic capsules with suspected traced heroin from her front pockets. A probable cause search of the vehicle was conducted, which revealed another silver spoon with suspected heroin residue and burn marks on it, and a total of 5 used syringes with suspected heroin residue. Madison was issued the appropriate traffic citations, and both were released from the scene on criminal citations. Madison failed to appear for her court date on July 14, 2017. A bench warrant was issued and is still active with the MSP Glen Burnie Barrack. The second subject is Daniel Alfonso Rosales. He's a Hispanic male with the date of birth of April 17, 1979, and a last known address of 325 West Arden Road, Brooklyn Park, Maryland. On January 8, 2017, a trooper was on routine patrol in a marked MSP patrol vehicle in the area of westbound 100 prior to Oakwood Road in Glen Burnie, Maryland. The trooper conducted a traffic stop on a 2005 black Chrysler PT Cruiser with Maryland registration 9AK0274 for an inoperable taillight. The driver failed to display a driver's license and advised the trooper his name was Daniel Alfonso Gonzalez. MVA records through all 50 states provided no valid driver's license on file for that name. The driver also provided the trooper's social security number, which yielded negative results. While speaking with the driver, the trooper smelled the strong odor of an alcoholic beverage emitting from his breath, at which time the driver advised his friends the two passengers inside the vehicle had been drinking, and he was just trying to get them home. The driver was asked to exit the vehicle and perform standardized field sobriety tests, which he agreed. While conducting the SFSTs, the trooper observed furtive movement inside the PT Cruiser, at which time the trooper observed the front female passenger was outside of the vehicle urinating on the roadside. Then the rear male passenger exited the vehicle. For safety reasons, the SFSTs were concluded due to the passengers outside of the vehicle. The passengers were ordered back inside, at which time the male passenger entered the driver's seat of the PT Cruiser and fled the scene, leaving the driver still with the trooper on the roadside. The trooper transported the driver back to the Glen Burnie Barrack. While en route, he provided the trooper his real name of Daniel Alfonso Gonzalez. MVA records revealed Rosales' driver's license was suspended. He provided the trooper with the names of the two passengers that fled, who were later charged via criminal summonses. After arriving at the barrack, the trooper had Rosales resume SFSTs. Rosales demonstrated lack of coordination, poor balance, and signs of impairment, and was subsequently placed under arrest for DUI. Rosales advised the trooper the two passengers fled because there was CDS and paraphernalia inside the vehicle. Rosales failed to appear for his court date. On July 21st, 2017, a bench warrant was issued and is still active with the MSP Glen Burnie Barrack. And our last subject is Jose Carlos Vasquez Lopez. He's a Hispanic male with a date of birth of October 11, 1987, and a last known address of 405 Elmwood Court, Arnold, Maryland. On October 22, 2016, a trooper was conducting traffic enforcement in the area of Rowell Boulevard and Taylor Avenue in Annapolis, Maryland. While in his marked patrol SUV, the trooper observed a white Honda Civic with Maryland registration 2BY6567, which failed to stop at an intersection prior to making a right turn. The trooper followed the white Honda and paced it, traveling well under the posted speed limit, and subsequently conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. Upon contact with the driver, Jose Carlos Vasquez Lopez, the trooper smelled the strong odor of an alcoholic beverage emitting from his breath. He was coming from the Mexican Cafe in Annapolis, where he had consumed Corona beers. MVA records revealed Vasquez Lopez's driver's license was revoked. Vasquez Lopez submitted to SFSTs and was arrested for DUI. And he later submitted to the intoximeter test with a result of .20 BRAC and was transported to the Annapolis Court Commissioner's office on the issued citations. Vasquez Lopez failed to appear for his court date on July 24, 2017, and was issued a bench warrant. That warrant is still active with the MSP Glen Burnie Barrack.
Great, Katie. Folks, you know the deal. If you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals, do not approach them. Instead, call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911, 24 hours a day. Keep those calls coming in, folks, because your tips are definitely paying off. Katie, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And now for those subjects wanted by the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office. Let's see, our first subject, that's going to be Andrea Smith. Smith is wanted for orchestrating a theft scheme in which she stole over $81,000 from the victim. Charging documents revealed that from May of 2014 through February of 2016, Smith forged checks, opened up multiple credit cards, used stolen funds to pay her AT&T bill, and even paid her car insurance using the victim's personal information. This theft scheme was discovered by a bank teller who contacted the family after noticing numerous transactions which appeared fraudulent. Detectives were able to charge Smith, who was employed as the victim's caregiver. That's sad. So today we are looking for Miss Andrea Smith. Smith is a 50-year-old black female who is 5 foot 3 inches tall and weighs 140 pounds. She has a date of birth of July 20th, 1967. Her last known address is on Brookstone Court in Severn. Now, Next subject. That's Lawrence Manville Jacobs. This subject is wanted for fleeing and eluding from a traffic stop back in August. Officers on patrol in Laurel observed Jacobs pull out from a hotel parking lot, almost causing an accident. Now, when officers pulled him over, he waited for the officer to get out of his car and then speed off. The officer had learned that Jacobs was a suspended driver and the vehicle had expired registration. Due to the high volume of traffic and concern for the safety of other motorists, the officer did not pursue. Jacobs most likely fled because he had 5 open warrants from 3 counties. So today, we're looking for Lawrence Manville Jacobs, 38-year-old white male with a date of birth of November 23rd, 1978. He's 6 feet tall, weighs 275 pounds, and has a bald head, blue eyes. His last known address is 2023 Orchard Avenue in Jessup. And our last subject, that is Kingsley Anthony McLean. This subject is wanted for violation of probation. And after being placed on probation for an assault back in 2014, our subject is back in trouble for failing to notify his probation officer about his latest arrest. During September, despite being on a high level of supervised probation, McLean was arrested for distributing CDS. Not good. He was released and is now being sought on the violation warrant. So today, we're looking for Kingsley Anthony McLean. He's a 23-year-old black male with a date of birth of December 18th, 1993. He's 6 feet tall, weighs 185 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. And his last known address was Strawberry Lake Way in Odenton. So folks, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, we're going to meet my friend, Mr. Jim Geotz, who's the founder of Anne Arundel's First Alert. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Okay, so welcome back from the break, and with me is my good friend, Mr. Jim Geotz, who's the founder of Anne Arundel's First Alert, which many of you have watched on Facebook all the time. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Well, thanks for having me.
So look, before we start talking about Anne Arundel's First Alert, let's talk to the viewers about your experience and what got you to this point.
Well, I do have a little background in public safety. I've been a paramedic for 35 years. I've retired from the Anne Arundel County Fire Department with 20 years. I'm currently the EMS chief at Fort Meade right now, and I've been there almost 16 years. So,
wow.
I'm coming up on 36 years as a paramedic, so I have a fairly significant background in EMS and fire and public safety.
And you do something else with news.
Right. I'm a newsie, so I've been around for a while. I used to work at Channel 13, WJZ in Baltimore. I did some news editing for them for a few years. I was one of the photographers for a while, and I'm currently a news reporter at WNAV as well, because I just love that adrenaline rush, So it's
Cool.
not just the fire and EMS, but I like being on the other side of the news, or other side of the red tape or yellow tape sometimes too.
Very good. Now, many people who follow First Alert think that it's an Anne Arundel County government entity that's running it, and it's not. Mm-mm. So let's clarify that up. So let's talk about how this, you being the founder, how this all started.
Well, it started a couple years ago. At the time, my mom was really ill. My dad had just passed away, so we had taken care of her for a while, and I needed something to occupy my time. And for a newsie, what better thing to do than start a news service, as I did. Anne Arundel County needed a little bit of maybe a breaking news site that was like literally breaking news. So as it happened, you knew about it. It doesn't necessarily mean that every incident we post is a real big incident, but it could affect traffic and things like that. So a lot of our things are hashtagged with Maryland traffic and things like that. This way they know that, there might be an accident down on Ritchie Highway somewhere, but it may not be to the point where it's completely blocking things up. But if you're heading that way, you need to know about it. It may not be, total death and destruction, thank goodness, but or it could be. It depends on the situation. But we want people to know that it's out there and to maybe avoid the area to kind of help the guys and girls that are working the scene, so they're not getting, all these other vehicles coming down. And so we're trying to make it to where it was an active news site all the time. So it wasn't just things that, again, like big house fires or big working incidents, things like that. It might just be something small. And we call it First Alert because we report on the first alert. So as it comes out, we tell you about it. It's almost like having a human scanner, in some ways, okay? The good part is we try to educate our subscribers because it's not just telling them about the call, but we want to go into a little bit more in depth about it as well. So they may hear this is a horrible incident and this happened. Well, we would try to explain to them why this happened, why the ATF shows up on this call for whatever reason, and oh my gosh, it's something horrible. Well,
So
it may not be.
It cuts down a lot of rumors.
Absolutely, and that is a big deal because rumor on social media is crazy, So we do try to kind of squash that as well. We have almost 150,000 subscribers. Our reach goes anywhere between 200,000 to 1 million a week. It's crazy. I mean,
That's
it really
a lot.
is. It really is. I mean, for a small Facebook site, it's huge.
And so let's tell the viewers, I know Mr. Dale will put this on the screen, but what's the Facebook site called?
Well, it's called Anne Arundel First Alert, and that's how they can get to it. We're a division of the Arundel News Network, which is my company, which is the parent service, and then Anne Arundel First Alert kind of falls under that.
So let's clarify this for our viewers again. This is not a service of the Anne Arundel County government.
Right, it's not. No, we're located in Anne Arundel County, so that's what the whole purpose is.
Let's talk about where your information comes from.
Well, I mean, again, it's radios. It's you met all the PIOs pretty much on your show so far. I mean, Corporal Megath, Lieutenant Frazier. We're basically right with them, and they know us pretty well. And we try to get the information so it's valid. It's validated, if you want to say that. So we know for sure it's good information that's being put out there.
So you guys are working hand in hand.
We do, and they, we don't call them at 3 o'clock in the morning and bother them, but a lot of times, I mean, if it's something big, we will, for that, of course, we want to make sure it's out there. But for the most part, scanners and things like that, but it's not just, hey, we're scanner buff. We have professional radios. I mean, I have an actual feed that people can listen to all the time. It's a arundelnewsradio.com is what it is. So you can go to that too. And that's an all 24-hour feed. They can hear Anne Arundel County Fire, Police, and BWI Airport, Annapolis City, the Naval Academy, and Fort Meade.
And there's no delay to that, probably.
No, it's instant. Yeah,
Okay.
it's really
Now, how about who is feeding you information out on the street, out in the field, that helps keep your sites even more current?
Well, we do have reporters, and I hate to use the word volunteer reporters because it almost sounds amateurish when you're like that, but they're real reporters. I mean, we have people who work at WNAV, we have some other people who have like metro traffic experience, things like that.
I've given you stuff.
Yes, sir, and we have public safety people as well. So, I mean, we have a really healthy mix. Some people say it's kind of strange to have reporting and public safety in the same, and I say, well, it's no different than if you're watching national TV and you see a news anchor who's also a lawyer. I mean, CNN has a few, Fox has a few, and they're good anchors. They know their news, but they're also lawyers and doctors, and so we're no different. It's just a little. We're paramedics. I'm a paramedic. We have firefighters, police officers, and yeah, we do get information coming through. But we try to make sure that information's valid. We don't put out things that could consider a rumor or get things like that. So we try to make sure everything is good when it goes out there.
Now, you have some parameters. What can be put on there, what cannot be put on there. So
Well,
let's talk about that.
That's a good point because we don't, we try, look, we are a quick service. And I think it's almost like this generation we're in right now, they have microwave ovens, they can do all kinds of stuff. So they want stuff now, okay?
Right.
I hear helicopter over my head. I'm going to First Alert. Why is there a helicopter over my head? As much as I want to tell you why there's a helicopter, I don't know if you're a good guy or a bad guy. If you're the bad guy, the last thing I want to tell you is they're looking for you, okay?
Right.
I want to make sure they know that, the police have patrols just like they do, and I'm preaching to the choir, right? But police officers, they have patrols in streets where they run their cars. Helicopters do too, and they on routine patrols. And sometimes, and Lieutenant Frazier will tell you this more than I will, but a lot of times they're just in the area and they may have a situation going on and they'll come flying over just to see if they can help. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a huge public threat. And if it does, we're on it, and we'll tell you. But if we're not telling you, that means that we don't want other people to know.
Right.
So we got to be careful about that.
You don't want to compromise the operation.
Absolutely.
Right. Very
Absolutely.
good. Now, before we start talking about some specific cases, I remember it just came to me while you were talking about how people thought this was an Anne Arundel County government function, and they were questioning your site about when was Fort Smallwood Road going to be paved.
It happens all the time. All the time.
Talk about that for a second.
Well, I mean, again, they see the name Anne Arundel, and I really believe it's because our service is so professional.
Yes.
And I don't mean that in a like I'm patting myself on the back, but I mean, we have good people, and the service is a professional service. And I've done that because I've been, as a professional paramedic and firefighter, we're taught to be professional. So when we're out dealing with the public, we do it in a professional manner. I've carried that into Facebook and my site, and that's why I do it that way. And I think it's because it is so professional, and we maintain that professionalism all the way through, that I think people attribute that with the county government. And so in a way, it's kind of a compliment, okay? But again, we don't pretend to be the county government. And when people ask us, we're like, oh, no, we're clearly a private news service. Just like BG&E is not the Baltimore Gas and Electric. It doesn't belong to Baltimore. It's a private service, okay?
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing. But yeah, we get people like today, we put a post out about Fort Smallwood Park and about how there's getting a big renovation. Steve Shue announced it. It was a big deal. And right away, everybody wanted to know more information, like why is that money going there, not to the schools? Well, maybe you should talk to them.
Right.
And I know that's important.
I know my office has given you things about, we did the Chesapeake K-9 fun run for the K-9 units in Annapolis City, Anne Arundel County Police, and Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office.
Right.
And you posted that because it was a law enforcement, public-related interest story.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate it. So let's talk about those who haven't seen this before until today, when they start watching this or following you. Talk about some of the instances you put on there.
Well, again, the reach is huge. Sometimes, if it's a slow news week, we may reach 100,000 people. But if it's really big, 2 incidents come to mind. One was most recently when there was a scare in Baltimore with a toxic cloud that was coming over to Glen Burnie in Brooklyn.
That was Curtis Bay area.
Curtis Bay area, right. And the OEM, Office of Emergency Management, put out an alert. Their alert came about 45 minutes after ours did. So that's how quick we are on top of things. And again, we're not bragging. We're listening. And when we know something, they're going to know something. That's why we do it that way. So if in this situation, this cloud was supposedly coming, an alert came out in the zip code areas of like Brooklyn Park, Glen Burnie, things like that. And so we initially put it out. At first, some of the subscribers were like, why is your information so vague? Oh my goodness, we need more information. Well, unfortunately, we didn't have that to give, and we can't just make it up. We're not, it's not about conjecture, it's about being real valid information. So we had to wait until we knew for sure what it was. And then when the news media came on at noon, because this was probably a half an hour into the incident, they're going live and they're saying, we really don't know what we have, but something's happening. So I didn't feel bad at that point because I knew if they didn't have it and I didn't have it, we're on the same channel, so to speak.
Sure.
But that was a big incident. And then there was a tragic incident in Annapolis with Child's Point where they lost 6 people in a big fire. We had 2 million people on our service at that point. And it was because we wrote a story, and that's what I'm talking about, the ATF. It was a huge incident and no one knew what caused the fire. And I actually interviewed a retired fire investigator, and he explained, from A to Z why it's all happening. And it squelched all the rumors. People were like, oh, now I understand. Okay, that makes sense. That's really cool. And even though it was a horrible tragedy, but they understood that the ATF was there because they needed to be there for purposes. The state's attorney was involved for purposes. Had nothing to do with there was a crime. And right away they were thinking, oh my goodness, it's a crime. So we kind of squelched that pretty quick. And that was for us, that was a huge accomplishment.
And I know from my office, the producer of this show, Acting Lieutenant Brian Andre, will frequently give you things, wanted people for priority cases to put on so we can get the input from the citizens. Because I know we put something on your site, we have so many people watching it that tips come in, bam, 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 and an arrest is made very quickly.
Absolutely, and Brian does a great job, and that's we like this cooperation with your office because, like you said, it helps us, it makes us feel like we're actually doing something. And you're right. I mean, people were watching it. The Failure to Appear program that you all had spearheaded, which was a wonderful program. We had a lot of input from that. People were there, and you saw the result.
And speaking of that, and I don't even think Brian even knows this date. He'll learn it right now on set. But we're doing that again. We just got a date 2 days ago.
Oh, good.
December the 1st, 2017, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to do that same Failure to Appear reduction program, warrant reduction program. at the Annapolis City District Court. I haven't even put it out there, so this is the first time anyone's
Breaking
hearing
news.
it. Breaking news.
I love it.
So you can put that on First Alert,
It's there.
and I'll put a video out and put it on all the social media sites. But yeah, so again, that's something that was being done to help the public and help public safety, and your service played a big part.
It is. We're like the messenger, and we get killed like the messenger does sometimes, unfortunately. But no, it is. It's a great program, and we love pushing it out there. And initially a lot of people came up and said, "Oh my goodness, that's a trap. Don't do it. It's fake." And you even jumped in there and said, "Help, time out. You can call my office and talk to me personally. I'll make sure." And I think once people realized through that program that it was real, I think the next one's going to be bigger.
I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, I think it is too.
So, Jim, what can the viewers do to get involved with Anne Arundel First Alert and to help you and to enhance your services?
Just get the word out. I mean, subscribe. And we have so many subscribers now. Because the reach is so broad, we know it's getting out there. And honestly, if you're on Facebook and you live in Anne Arundel County, they're on the service. I mean, it is. I mean, as well as I do, everywhere we go, sometimes you and I will go to lunch and we'll talk about it and stuff like that. And of course, hey, this is Jim Geotz from First Alert. Oh, yeah, I subscribe to that
You're
service.
a celebrity, Jim. You're
I
a
don't
celebrity.
feel that way, but we have good people, and our subscribers are fantastic. I mean, they really are. I love them to death. They've been patient with us during the hard times. They've been, just good people, and we like providing that service for them. It's
Very
good stuff.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank you
brother.
for having
really
me.
appreciate
Yes, sir.
it.
Thank you.
And maybe when we'll have some more big things, we'll have you back on to talk about the other
Absolutely.
services. So, folks, I forgot to tell you at the end of my wanted people, if you know the whereabouts of any of those people, don't approach them. You know the deal. Call the number 410-222-1490 or 911 24 hours a day. So I want to thank a few people who allow the show to happen every single month. First, the man behind the camera, Mr. Dale Boyer from my office, Acting Lieutenant Brian Andre, of course, our County Executive, Mr. Steve Shue, Anne Arundel County Chief of Police, Tim Altamari, Annapolis Police Chief, Scott Baker, and the Maryland State Police Superintendent, Mr. Bill Palazzi. Folks, remember, let's keep Anne Arundel County safe. I'm Sheriff Ron Bateman. We'll see you next time on Anne Arundel's Most Wanted.